Right. We're talking about not quitting. Lots of one of the biggest reasons that we see people quit is because they get discouraged, they don't know how to pivot, their emotions take over. They say, "Is this even worth it anymore?" No, it's not. And then they quit because they're focused too much on the emotions. They sit too far into the insecurities instead of looking at how to grow out of the insecurities. And they let that kind of take over
Yeah.
and it caused them to quit.
The problem
We
is they're out of touch and they don't know what they're out of touch with
exactly.
what.
And one of these memes in our album over here talks about how your brain constructs your reality, and the things that you surround yourself with and the thoughts that you repeat over time, you create your own reality, and that could be for the better or for the for worse.
Mhm.
And in this day and age of fitness, the way fitness and weight loss is marketed is always so much around the insecurities that instead of the growth, that you get stuck in the insecurities. It's all you can think about. It's all you can see. It's all you can feel. And you don't even realize that you're growing because everything is talking to you about your insecurities.
The problem with having your goal be your journey Jesus is there's a certain amount of absolution that comes with that. Okay. And the problem with that is there's not a goddamn thing in this fucking life that is an absolute,
Mm-hmm.
because somebody always has an opinion. Somebody you hold close is going to be a little different from you. And that little difference is all it takes for shit to go sideways. So if you're going to have the end goal be the thing, your thing, then you've got to be able to snap some lines around it and protect it. Protect what
Yes.
keeps it of value to you. It's if you can't explain why, then stop trying. You just know it's important to you, and that's got to be enough for now. You got to trust it and protect it, and snap those lines around it, and protect and assume that and hope that it's going to come reveal itself to you, because this is where like people will get confused trying to force meaning behind something meaningless,
Mm-hmm.
or trying to put into words a gut feeling that no one was going to understand anyway. And when nobody gets it, you lose the what you think is important in terms of validation, and you misunderstand validation for valuation. And then all of a sudden you're running in circles trying to chase the next thing that you think is going to get you that pat on the back, or that affirmation that what you're doing is right, when the fact is what you're doing doesn't necessarily have to be right in order for you to achieve said goal. It just has to not be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that should be enough. And there's a very clear difference with that. I mean, the me you're talking about, your brain constructs your reality based on what you pay attention to. When you learn to manage and direct your focus, you can improve virtually every aspect of your life. That could go back to that Wayne Dyer way of looking at things, that his quote. And I would argue that that entire concept stems back from Confucius, who said, he who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right. And then and this was in what, fucking 4 something BCE, something like that. Like I gotta
Mm-hmm.
look it up, but something like that, right? And then Henry Ford comes around and says basically the same shit. Whether you can and whether you think you can and can't, you're right. You know, it's a simpler version for those who can't think deeply. But at the end of the day, and this is for the new age manifestors, you fucking people that want to just manifest that, okay, this is not new. You're not cool. This is basic math, okay?
Yeah.
Spiritual math. And how to problem solve this is to understand that the line that you snap that protects that goal, within that line is a fiber that means if it's important enough to you, that's all that fucking matters.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Sometimes be okay with saying, I can't explain it. It just is what it is. And if they
Yeah.
respect you, they're on your team. If they're not, they're in your way.
Yeah. Absolutely. And a lot of times that comes, the issue is you let the emotion part of it take over, it's hard because you have to have a good balance between emotion and reality, right? To some point, you have to be emotional enough to know that this matters to you, and whether you can put in factual or objective words why it means something to you or not. You, like you said, you've got to be okay if you can't verbalize exactly why it's important to you, but you've got to be in touch with the emotional part of it at least enough to understand that it is important to you. But on the other side of it, you've got to be realistic too, because if you come with it from only the emotional side of things, you're going to ignore the reality of things, which is then what makes you discouraged because your expectations get thrown off, or you see something that offends you, and instead of saying like, wow, I have the power to change that, you get stuck in it and it discourages you instead. Like I watched the most boring Super Bowl of all time last weekend, and they had, obviously I was just watching the commercials once I realized the football game was so boring, but I saw Mike Tyson had the commercial saying that he used to be overweight. He said his sister died of obesity when she was 25. She had a heart attack, that America is the most powerful country in the world, but also the most obese. And the entire commercial was about eating real food. Stop eating processed foods.
As I suck on a dum-dum.
Yeah.
It's a fucking candy. It's processed as shit. It's okay.
But I'm sitting there like, that was great. He's so right. Like,
Yep.
we should, why do we eat so much of that junk? Like, it's so bad for you in so many ways. And I just thought it was the best thing ever. And then get on the internet, and apparently everybody's super mad about it.
Yeah, because everybody's a keyboard warrior. You know, I dare you motherfuckers to go find Tyson and say that shit to his
Say
face.
something to him, right?
Fucking punks.
But then on the other hand,
That's the way they are.
there were so many commercials about weight loss meds. And in the weight loss medication commercials, there was one in particular. They're like, if there was a pill to parallel park better, I would take it. If there was a pill to become a pro wrestler.
There was?
Yeah. It said if there was a pill
Was
I
it a
would take.
joke or were they being serious?
The whole commercial was saying, if you could take a pill to lose weight, why wouldn't you?
And it was serious.
It was serious. It was Kenan Thompson was the first one that said there, you take pills for all sorts of things. And then it was another celebrity trying to parallel park a car. He said, if there was a pill to parallel park better, I would take it. And then
they were being serious about
Yes.
pushing that narrative.
Yes.
That you should take pills to
lose weight.
what the fuck?
So DJ Khaled was on it, and he's like, if I could take a pill to be a pro wrestler, I would take it. And then there was another chick who was like, if only there was a pill for people to stop being so judgy about the way that you lose weight. And then they said, well, maybe we don't need a pill for everything. And they're like, take a pill to lose weight. The whole thing was that one of the weight loss medications now comes in a pill form instead of an injection. Nobody was offended by that.
Because this is political propaganda. Okay.
Oh, for sure.
This
But
is
what was
are you
interesting?
the blue pill or red pill? And they're playing on that.
Yes. But what was interesting about Tyson's commercial was at the end, it was like funded by the government. So a lot of people were like, because the Kennedy stuff where they're trying to clean stuff up and this and that. So it was funded by that, but they're the same fucking people going with this big pharma shit with the pills and stuff. So it was an interesting like juxtaposition there, dichotomy. But the thing that made me think of it as connected to this is it's normal to say, I just want to take a pill and lose weight. It's normal to say, here's my insecurity, I'm overweight. And Mike Tyson said it the same way. He's like, I hated myself when I was overweight. So I stopped doing that shit. These people, on the other hand, with the weight loss meds, they're not directly saying, I'm unhappy being overweight, but they're saying if I take this pill, I will be more happy because I will weigh less. And there's a difference there. The pill people are coming from a place of emotion, and I hate saying it like that, but that particular commercial is playing more to your emotions, Whereas the Tyson commercial was playing more to the reality. People didn't want to look at the reality.
They're hypocrites.
They're
The
stuck in the
same people
emotion.
who say that fat shaming is bad. What
Well,
the fuck are you? You're doing the same shit, man.
and there was you're exactly. So then I went down a rabbit hole on Instagram and was watching all these people who were like shitting on Mike Tyson's. And one of them said that Mike Tyson's commercial was fat shaming masked as health. And I was like, but see, then let's look at the facts. It is unhealthy to be overweight. Fact. Right? It is a fact that over time, people have lost weight from diet and exercise from all time. It is a fact that medications have side effects. All of those things are facts. If you can sit back and look at that, then the way your mind thinks about fitness changes because you understand fact versus emotion.
Yep.
Emotion, I'm unhappy like this. I need to lose weight. I've got to do something. Fact, if I eat better and exercise the right way, I will lose weight. Emotion, somewhere in the middle. Okay, but this is really hard. So I'm still really unhappy. I have to do something about it. Let me do this instead in the form of a medication or whatever it is. And it's easy to take that middle ground because that's what you're seeing over and over and over and over again. That's what your brain is processing over and over again. Your brain doesn't see the reality all the time. And when it does, it's a shock.
Yeah.
If you
see what it eats what you feed it.
Yes. And as a society in general, if you're talking about this big overarching thing, right? We are fed over and over, quick, easy, cheap. And we already know, we've talked about this a bunch of times, you can't have all three of those things at once. And so when I started thinking about a couple of different clients that we have and the clients that have been able to go from that emotional place, like full emotion, to a healthy balance of both emotion and reality.
Yep.
Two clients really come to mind. One of them, he's done it. He's figured out how to balance the two. And I truly believe he will stay balanced that way. And you know, it always is going to ebb and flow. But I do believe he will live the rest of his life with this new mindset, no matter what happens. Then there's another client that we've been working with for a much shorter amount of time. I think she's just about to finish up her first 6 weeks with us. And she's in the process. She is in the place where she knows that she can't stay that emotional. And she's starting to get some of those thought processes going that move her more towards balance.
Mm-hmm.
But the emotional one is still taking over if she doesn't get those constant reminders, balance, balance, balance. So our first one, the one who's already through it, so freaking proud of him. He started, I don't know, 3-4 years ago now. It's been a couple years we've been with him. And he's been overweight his whole life. It's something he's always dealt with, something he's always been insecure about, but was always kind of nervous to get in it to try and do something about it. And when he finally decided to, I know he had a lot of long talks with you about why it was that he wanted to lose weight. And it came down to his overall health. He realized, like, I'm shortening my life staying this way. I make an inordinate amount of noise just to get off the couch because it's so difficult. I don't want to live like that anymore. And for the first 2 or 3 years that we worked with him, I was working with him virtually a lot. He would not come in because he was too nervous to. He was still stuck in that like emotional, insecure place where he didn't want anybody to see him work out, not even us. So cool. We gave him his thing to do at home, sent him all the videos, constant contact with questions and all that kind of stuff. And he started to see some progress. There were lots of times where he put it down for a week. He was in a very all or nothing perfectionist type mindset. If he missed a day, it's like, I got to start the week over. Like, no, you don't. This is life. But what he was really good at was staying in contact with us. It took a minute. At first, he would lie or he'd leave things out. And then he'd eventually realize, like, it's not serving me to do that. And he started to trust me more and get a little bit more honest with me. And then it was like, no, let's backtrack. You missed today. It's not the end of the world. You don't have to go back to 3 days ago because you missed today. That's life. It happens. Tomorrow, pick it up on tomorrow on the calendar. It's fine. We're going to keep rolling. But he'd eventually get to a point where he's like, all right, I missed too many. We got to redo this one. Let's redo this plan. We'll do a new one in the next 6 weeks. And he was very back and forth like that. So we finally got him in here. He finally built up the confidence to be like, all right, I want to come in next phase. Let's train in person. And what is my favorite thing about his journey is that he's now to a point where he recognizes these things without needing my reminder. My reminder more is an affirmation of what he already thought, right? So yesterday he was in here doing renegade rows, which when we started, no way would he even have wanted to try a plank on the floor whatsoever. Push-ups, plank, it was not happening. Yesterday, he did a bunch of actual renegade rows on the floor in a plank, 2 dumbbells, rowing them up. Great form, looked awesome, felt strong, and it like blew his mind. He's like, what's so cool about this is I've been at this for all this time, and I'm finally realizing that this is all worth it. My progress has been slow, he said. It's been a long process. It's been a slow process. But now that I'm seeing the value in being consistent, even if it's not constant. He's like, I'm reminded over and over again that even when something happens and it throws me off a little bit, I always come back to this. I always come back to these habits. Now in the mornings for breakfast every day, he's here in the morning and he's like, can't wait to go home and eat my yogurt. He's got like this yogurt, granola, he drizzles honey. It's like his favorite thing.
Yeah. Yep.
And the switch up, he hasn't weighed himself in months. He only weighs himself when he goes to the doctor now. That used to be his biggest thing, was the weight's just not going down. My belly's not going down. And he'd find all the things, all the little insecurities to pick at. And now he's finally to a point where he's like, I just did a renegade row and there's no way I could have done that 3 years ago. I didn't even know that existed. I never would have even thought to try something like that.
Yep.
And so instead of looking at, oh, my belly's just not going down, he's like, I can do a fucking renegade row. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference between showing up at the gym to exercise because you hate your belly and showing up at the gym to exercise because you're about to prove to yourself that you can do something that you could never do before.
Yeah.
And
he didn't even know it existed. You said it, you just said it. And now that's a part of the goal when I had no idea it existed before. So again, if you don't know why your goal is your goal, but this is a perfect example of why I say I don't give a fuck about your goal. I care about why you want it, but not the goal itself.
And your development as a human, right?
Yeah.
And he also realizes that by challenging himself to do those hard things, the weight comes off. And he doesn't have to obsess about the weight coming off for the weight to come off. Just like how we've been talking about, look at your habits over your weight. He understands that challenging himself over and over and over again and leveling up, it's like he lives for that now. His cardio, he's facing a big goal in the next 6 weeks. So he's got a couple cardio days on his plan where I have him just like straight up cardio just to burn. And he has always hated cardio. I mean, who doesn't, right? It's horrible. It's boring, and it is what it is. But this time for his cardio, I said, listen, on the calendar it says 30 to 45 minutes walking uphill on the treadmill. You can wear your weighted vest or not. It's up to you. But this time the goal isn't how far can you get in that 30 to 45 minutes. It's, hey, how long can you push it? If you are on there for 30 minutes, don't get off just because I put 30 minutes. If you've got time, keep going. And so now his chart says how long did you end up going for? How high did you get the incline? Did you wear your weighted vest or not? And I put one for every single cardio session over the next 6 weeks. And he lives for that shit. He texted me this morning. I did 48 minutes, like just to beat the 45 that I put on there. And now I know the way his brain works. This time he didn't wear his weighted vest. Next time he's gonna be like, all right, I've only got 45 minutes. I can't go over 45 minutes this time. But this time I'm gonna put the weighted vest on because it's gonna push me.
Exactly right.
And
Efficiency, make the most of what you got.
exactly. So instead of looking at cardio like, I've got to do the cardio to lose this weight, he's like, all right, here's my next session. How am I going to push myself today? Because he knows he's going to walk away from it feeling better. He knows that as he's pushing himself like that, he's going to be seeing the results that he's looking for. And that's the exact balance that you need in order to keep going
Yep.
and to not get discouraged. Now, this other one that we're working with, she has just kind of started with us. We're on week 6. She texted me earlier this week. It's her renew week. So we're like, all right, I sent her invoice for her next round. We're starting to talk about what the next round's going to look like. And I texted her yesterday. I'm like, hey, I sent your invoice the other day. She goes, oh, I saw it. So what's going on? She's like, I'm feeling really discouraged. I'm doing all this work and I'm working so hard and I'm basically where I started. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I sent her back the screenshot she sent me of her chart of all her measurements. Her weight's only gone down 1 pound. So that's why she's saying, I'm basically where I started. Her waist is down 3 inches, which is pretty considerable for 5 weeks. Her chest and her hips are both and somewhere from 1 to 2 inches each. I'm like, you are not where you started, number one. So let's flip that around right now. Like you are not even close to where you started. You're down 3 inches. That's not where you started. And not only that, but she's done a lot, so much work nutritionally. She's pushed out a lot of the processed foods, is trading them in for real foods, is finding the right balance between the protein and the carbs and the fat that works with her body, making sure protein is staying high, that she's eating throughout the day, because at her job, she's sitting a lot. She doesn't have a lot of time where she's in front of people, so she's not getting a lot of time to eat. That itself took a solid 3 weeks to level out. So when we think about it, we're really on, so I'm telling her, and these are all things I'm telling her too. We're now on week 2, honestly, of having everything together, having routines in place, having nutrition under control, and you're still down 3 inches. And she's like, okay, when you put it like that. And I said, if the scale is what is making your brain go backwards like this, then we need to put that aside for a minute. Because the more you look at the scale, the more you get on the scale, these are the things that you're surrounding yourself with, right? The more that you feed your brain of certain things. And if you're going to get on the scale, then you've got to start feeding your brain the thought process of, this is what the scale says, but this is what my measurements say. This is what the scale says, but also I've cleaned up my entire diet. You've got to be able to train your brain to see the number and detach it from allowing it to be the entire definition of your progress, because it's not. And the more that we can get her brain doing that, the closer she's going to get to where our other guy is. And that's how he got there, right? It was every time he had a thought like that, we'd talk it out and we'd say, all right, replace that thought with this one. And he told himself that enough times until for a while he had to believe it through us. He just had to trust us that what we were telling him was true, even if he didn't believe it yet. But the more he chose to believe us and what we were saying, even if he didn't believe it himself, he inadvertently proved it and then believed it himself. And so she's right in the thick of it, where she's got to just believe me for now and keep following what we're telling her to do. And the more that she pushes that mindset through her own brain, and the more that she's proving it to herself over time, the less she'll be consumed by that number on the scale, and the more she'll be able to see progress for what it really is.
You know, again, it's a perspective thing. You this is the hard part when you're educated and you're experienced in your field and you're experienced having practiced these things in and out of the office. You're a teacher, maybe even a daycare person, trainer, coach, just something where you are in charge of the mental psyche of
Somebody
the
else.
mental side and the psyche of a person. You know what you're supposed to say. You know the personality types. You know the love languages. You know triggers. You know what I'm saying. So the hack is like I tell my oldest daughter that when you get yourself in a bind and you're not sure, you're overthinking, switch your brain and ask yourself as if someone was coming to ask your opinion, what should I do? So that's the hack. But for people like this, it's not a hack. That's basic math. That's what they do. And the issue with that is this goes back to snapping the lines around that goal. You know what I mean? So to me, it's like an addiction to the scale addiction is just your unrelenting thought process to not change your mind about having something as a focus.
Yes.
So I remember, I was maybe 19, 18, 20 something or other. I was like a pack-a-day smoker. Quit, smoked, fell back off the wagon, quit again. The first time I quit because I was using Chantix and it was helping me curb the cravings, right? The second time I had gotten divorced and my mind just fucking snapped. Okay. And it was understanding that, I guess my point for bringing that back up was, in the efforts to quit smoking, I would do everything from, I'd light a cigarette, take a puff, throw it out the window. Light a cigarette, take a drag here and there, take the ash off the end and save it as a short for later. And say to myself, better to smoke the same cigarette all day than to have, 2 or 3, or smoke one, throw it away, have another one, because then I'm going to be buying them. And that was when I realized, like, if I don't kick the habit, so to speak, there's always more temptation than there is solution. So me throwing packs out the window driving, which is I did, knowing damn well that the next time I go to a gas station, I'm going to buy a pack. What the fuck? Because I wanted the result more than I wanted to understand why I was stuck in the first place. And it wasn't until I had, the first time I quit was something that was, again, I was taking the Chantix and it allowed me to curb it a little bit at a time. And then the second time, that was just, I was pissed. I think it's another episode where I say this is where I get my power from, is from the rage. And I quit cold turkey in that moment when I realized all the shit that was going on, right? And you would think that as a smoker, that's the time you probably want to light up the most. And I didn't. I was pissed about it and I snapped. And that was 30 years ago, 25 years ago, something like that. So my point is, you can keep throwing the scale out the window, so you can step on it with 1 foot instead of 2. You can all day. But what you're doing is looking for progress reports before you've taken any real exams. You're looking for a grade from just doing some homework, and that's not how it works. Okay? I get the slow cuts cut the deepest, and yes, you can bleed out from a fucking paper cut if you've got an autoimmune disease or some shit. I get it. I understand it. But I would urge that person to consider the word patience and ask yourself, what does that mean to you? I mean, really, if we said be patient, what does that mean? Is you're going to assume it means be patient till you get your goal. Maybe it's be patient until another goal pops up. Maybe I'm going to switch what I'm looking for through a fucking, a rifle scope, and I'm going to switch it to a binoculars instead. Maybe I take them off instead of having tunnel vision where I can't tell the forest from the fucking trees. How about I just back off and see what the fuck I'm doing? Because if you lost 3 inches, go shopping at the store that you did before you started, and you're going to be shopping in a different section.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And someone like her, of all people, has to understand the power of incremental progress points.
Mm-hmm.
They matter. They compound if they're built right.
Yep.
So the hardest part is separating yourself, which is why I go back to that snapping the line around your goal. Don't tell anybody what your goal is. Don't tell anybody what your why is. Just hold it tight. Hold it. Keep it real close.
Mm-hmm.
And then instead of seeing, if a progress point or if a scale or something is going to make you feel like you've reached the goal, maybe come to any one of those points, whether it be you going on a treadmill for X amount of time, or a push-up, or a weight, or a inch on your measurements, or whatever it is, right? And ask yourself, take that moment and sit it next to that goal and say, do you guys know each other? Are you relevant?
Yeah.
If so, how? If not, cool. And then you take any moment where you feel like, oh, this ain't working, take that moment, go back to that goal and say, are you relevant? Do you know each other? Are you affected by this? Are you helping? Are you part of the problem or a part of the solution?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to filter it through that line of absolution you snap, okay? Now, I know, and I said in the beginning that the absolution is some bullshit because it takes all the subjectivity out. It actually puts it all back in, but in a way that is biased if your brain ain't clear. So let me just clarify. What I mean by that is you take the best of the concept of absolution. Never back down, never surrender. I'm going to win or die trying, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you find out that mentality and you put it next to the goal and say, are you relevant? Do you know each other? And then you have to decide if that mindset is really the best for you. If there's another way to say the same damn thing like we've been doing to the Confucius quote that was set in 471 BC fucking E, before it became repopular again in Ford by 1940 something.
Mm-hmm.
Henry Ford said the same shit more or less.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're talking about the same concept's been around for how long? And people still have a hard time doing it. So to complain about finding a hard time doing what you're trying to do after 6 weeks versus how many years? 1,000 years, something like that?
Mm-hmm.
No, how many? Yeah, something like that, right?
Thousands.
Dude, be patient. Calm down. You're good. Because what are you doing? Are you sitting at home bitching about it, or are you doing something?
Right.
Because if you sit at home and do nothing, guarantee you're right. That's when you're right where you started, because you ain't never fucking started.
Exactly.
Right? So if you're doing something, then by absolute law, you are in fact most certainly not where you were. Because when you made the decision to start something, you was on the couch or you were wherever. Now you're at the gym.
Yes. And that's part of what all this is about, right? Training your brain to recognize those things that you are doing over the things that haven't happened yet. And the things that have happened over the things that haven't happened yet. Have you lost 20 pounds yet? No. But you've lost 3 inches and you're on your way. And you knew going into this that it was going to be a little bit of a slow go. There was going to be a learning curve, that it was going to take a minute. And you've got to be able to train your brain in a way to see those things and be careful also that it doesn't turn into justifying it. You know, you skip a bunch of workouts, your nutrition gets off and it's like, oh, well, I knew it was going to be slow anyway. Like that, you know, again, that goes back to the reality part of it too, and the balance of everything.
Balance,
But
yes.
But yes, being able to
Because
balance
we talked about how I adjust my schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know I'm not going to get it in, so I gotta. But balance. Yeah.
Yes. And being able to balance, just like we said at the beginning, the emotion behind it and like why it is so important to you. Maybe not even necessarily why, just knowing that it is important to you, that you do have an emotional stake in your weight loss. Because if you don't have an emotional stake in it, I promise you, you will fail. You need to have an emotional stake in it, but to an extent, because you also have to be able to step back and take a logical look and say, this is what I'm doing. It's either working or it's not working. And regardless of the speed at which it's working, adjust.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah. One of the other memes we've got, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but I put it on there, the arrival fallacy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a picture of a mountain, dude standing in front of the mountain. We've said it before about how people love the view but hate the climb.
Yep.
And an important note here is it says reaching the finish line won't fix your soul. If you aren't happy during the climb, you'll find the summit is just a lonely place to realize that you're still you.
Mm-hmm.
And with everything except for the word happy, because I don't know that there's a certain mindset you got to be in to find the most difficult things, most challenging things make you happy.
Right.
I don't know about that, but I understand the premise. It's more about meaning. They've got to mean something to you. It's got to be relevant to that goal. It's got to, the why you're doing it, what you're willing to do. Who the fuck does that? Why are you willing to do that? Well, because I'm this or that. You know, you'll find yourself using the same story you always, you know, let me ask you rhetorically, like, do you find yourself when justifying a goal or a purpose, when people say, wow, what are you doing? How do you do it? Are you going back to the same like money story that made you this figure to other people in terms of an inspiration, or trying to justify your decisions for those who don't really believe that you can get it done? Are you saying like people would ask me all the time, "How are you doing? Building your house is crazy," and you know, and I found myself trying to give them the whole spiel, like I do this to get away from this, and building a house for my mom, and then she died, and and I found myself repeating the story, and it was like nobody gives a fuck. like you're asking to make conversation, but you really don't care, and that's cool. I get you now, you know what I mean? I stopped doing that because it was like, don't. Why are you building a house? Because I'm bored. And I moved on because nobody's going to get it. It's why I do what I do is close to me and me only, because that's all that matters. And I've been doing all sorts of random difficult shit for like forever. And I'm just now realizing at 8 years old, like keeping it close. You can share it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying become an introvert like me, but sometimes if you spread your big ideas to small-minded people, that shit will go out real quick. That light will go out real quick. There's a time and a place, and you'll know when it's right. But try to learn to understand that every step you take, okay, even if it's a step backwards, has some kind of meaning. And you got to ask yourself, if you step side, forward, or back, take that moment, whatever it was, whatever you did it for, whatever you got from it, put it right next to that goal and ask yourself, do you know each other? Are you okay? What is the connection here? And then you'll navigate through, and the next thing you know, you'll find out that you're going to be doing all this other shit now. All these other metrics have been, you've been able to be successful at them. Physical things, strength. Maybe you're not having that snack anymore. Maybe you've gotten rid of talking a certain way, or you've broken your sleep habits, or you're doing different things to pass time. Your stress patterns have now changed for the better. You're doing, all these little things. And it's like, well, shit, I've been kind of doing things to better myself all along. And yeah, the scale hasn't changed. But damn it, you know what? Until I realized the scale hasn't changed, I was pretty fucking happy.
Yes.
And then you start looking at that scale, and that shit has betrayed you.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's another thing with our guy. He's his talking about backwards and how you learn from it. He used to look at imperfection as going backwards. He used to be like, wow, I haven't done anything in 2 weeks. I ruined it. Like, I've got to start all over. And now when that kind of stuff happens, I'll see him and he'll be like, man, I didn't work out at all at home since the last time I was here. He's like, but you know what? I was traveling for sports, and it's okay. It's all right. Like, I'm here now, and I knew that coming here would re-energize me, and here we go. So instead of looking at it like I can't believe I've not done anything since the last time I saw you, it's all right, I'm back. Yeah. Like, let's keep going, moving forward. That 3-4 days that I just kind of didn't do shit, that's 3 or 4 days in the past. Yeah. Moving forward.
If you got kids, ask, before you start judging yourself, speak to and about yourself the same way you would speak to and about your kids. And if you're going to change some things, there's a problem there. Okay? Speak the same way you would to them, up to yourself. Love yourself the way that they love you, because to them you are perfect. And that's a big fucking thing to take in. You know what I mean? When we as adults know there is no such thing as perfection, but to our kids, we're the hero. We're everything they would want to be. And you'd never say to them if they missed if they failed the test, or they missed a workout, if they're in sports, or they didn't win the game, or whatever it is, you'd never say to yourself, "Well, you fucking suck. You're gonna have to start all over."
Oh my
You ain't
God.
gonna say that shit.
No.
If you if your kid plays softball and they strike out, but they make the most amazing defensive plays to win the game, they're going to worry about the strikeout, so you don't harp it. You know what I'm saying? Listen, it happens, but without you, this shit wouldn't happen here. You know what I mean? You look at the positive sides. So to not do that for yourself, that's where you give yourself a break. You can still be hard on yourself and have good expectations and a standard for yourself and so on, because you're the adult and because you know better and all of that. But to deny yourself the affirmation of self-positivity is asinine. That goes back to whether or not being, obese is healthy or not. You know what? If you think it's healthy for you, fucking go right ahead. It's your choice. It's your body to do what you got to do. Who cares what the science says? If the science says being, if there was such a thing as a scale measuring system, BMI is bullshit and all of that. Like, let's just say there was a magic pill to decide that what you're healthy or not, if your lifestyle is giving you this or that, right? If you're doing all the bad shit and you fucking are happy as a clam, then go fucking ahead, do it. I mean, you know what I'm saying? What am I going to do? Okay, I'm not going to force you. I can't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because again, you get to that goal and you were happier doing it the other way. Now you're going to get to this goal, get to the top and realize that it's just a fucking lonely ass place to realize that you're still you.
Yeah. It's a process. I think at the end of the day, what you have to know is that changing the way you think is a process. It's a long process and it takes practice. Anything you've ever been good at in your life, whether it's a sport or a test that you aced
Yep.
or anything else, you're good at it because you practiced it, because you put the reps in, because you intentionally made yourself better at it.
Yeah.
And
what happens at practice? Shit ton of fuck ups.
exactly,
Shit ton.
it's not like you work at it and it's just like a slow rise up. It's like you work at it, you fall a little bit. You work at it some more, you fall a little bit. But eventually you get up there, and changing the way you think is no different. You have to practice that. You have to find yourself. You have to recognize the areas, the times when you're surrounding yourself in the stuff that doesn't work, so that you can manually change the way that you're thinking. Gosh, the scale is up a pound. All right, I'm not supposed to focus on that. Let me look at my measurements. Okay, my measurements are down. What else did I win this week? What's my next win going to be? Instead of being afraid to get on the scale next week, what are some wins I can choose that I know I can win at over the next 7 days? And the more you choose to look at the wins, the more your brain will automatically start to look at the wins. But it takes work at first to remind yourself to do that.
And that goes back to the changing the size of the lens. You know what I mean?
Yep. Step
Instead
back,
of-
look at the bigger
there's
picture.
one way you can look at that scale and just practice at not making it have so much power. In an isolated sense, or you could practice looking at the whole thing from a panoramic view and see how big of a part of this view is this, is the scale. I mean, portraits and landscapes, if you were to you stare at a fucking tree, if you're looking up at its fucking massive tree, and you step back out to a panoramic view or a drone view, and if you pan out quick, you'll realize you couldn't find that fucking tree to save your life. It's still fucking big, but in the scheme of things, fucking find it, because If it's not the scale, it's somebody who said something that hurt your feelings, or it's a bad memory, or it's a bad day at work, or it's there's always going to be a tree in the fucking way of you. It's never ending. But you can either sit there and try to find your way through the shit, or you could just rise above it and look at them for what they are. You know what I'm saying? Because they pass, like the seasons.
Yep.
Sooner or later, they'll be gone and left be nothing but branches, and you'll be able to see through them just fine. Be patient.